Today we're asking a hard question. Can a system that doesn't feel empathy or responsibility truly act humanely? Technology and artificial intelligence now shapes decisions about work, health, and information, and it speaks the language of compassion fluently. But fluency isn't conscience. So are we engineering humane outcomes or just the appearance of them? And what responsibility still belongs to us? Let's get into it. Welcome to the Rundown. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday evening, the Rundown. Here on the East Coast, it is 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock Pacific, and I'm so happy to see all of you. My Pacific friend, Sky Gleason. How are you, sir?
Hi. Whoa. I'm first.
Ooh,
you
hi.
you caught me
I know,
off
I
guard
decided to
holding
go
holding my. What am I doing here, David? What am I doing? So excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm
always
Patriots
excited,
fan.
but now I have a reason.
I'm a Patriots fan, sorry.
Me too.
I
lived in Boston for 25 years. This was such a disappointing game for Patriot fans. There's just no way
I held my breath all the way through the third quarter. Because it could have been something different, and then it wasn't. But a million of my closest friends all celebrated in downtown Seattle. Had you been in Boston, you too have celebrated in the past. So just saying.
Yes, we had many times in the
saying.
past when we could have celebrated. Absolutely.
Just saying.
Now,
Thank you for
Dave
having
Troutman
me.
has something to
means?
celebrate. Dave, give us the big announcement from the Winter Olympics in Canada.
Yeah, Canada's first game was against Chechnya, and no, it's not. It's Czechia, and they beat them 5-0. So we're a force to reckon with.
I'm sorry, bear with me. What was the sport? No,
it's Canada. It's Canada.
Hockey.
What do we play? We curl
baseball.
and we play hockey. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was
And we have a
curling or
baseball
something
team,
like that.
too. We used to have two basketball teams, but they're gone. No, it's hockey. It's world hockey with all the NHL players allowed to play this time. And we're playing against other NHL players who are from those countries. And actually, the two superstars from my team are going to be Germany and our team. We have McDavid, so, we have the guy who's the best. But the second best guy is for Germany, and they're going to face off for the first time against each other. So that's going to be fun.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. 4. I'm here. Keep going. Don't worry. I'll come back. For some reason, my camera just spazzes out like that every once in a while. Who are you voting for? Anyone?
So, Sky, can you tell me what sport and what team you're celebrating?
There was a. This is the irony is it's called the Super Bowl, and it is, but the number of people that we get viewing is like what football around the rest of the world gets on what they call that a Sunday.
So
I'm sorry.
this was a football team.
Yes, it was a
Yes.
football team.
Thank you.
Yes, there you go. Okay.
It was football in
As you
American
can tell,
football.
I don't follow.
Lois is voting for the underwater
sport.
basket weaving team of
No,
Greater
I'm not.
California.
I'm just gonna go in the other room, quietly do some art.
There you go. There you go. Tony, who you voting for?
I don't have any skin in this game. I am a football
sports ball
fan on playoffs only.
That's me too.
And we just celebrate fellowship and eating snacks. That's it.
I'm with you. And Tamara, I don't know. Whose side are you on?
Football, that's the pointy one, right?
Yeah, that's the
That's what I know about football. I watched ice skating right before the
Yes.
football came on, and then I skedaddled away while other people in my family watched football.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay.
And then
Shows the sports section of our show.
I can
That is the
concur.
sports section.
I went to the Olympics in Vancouver, and I can concur that hockey is what is Canada's sport.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
then
I
there was
would-
a halftime thing, which was really cool.
There
I
was
did
a
watch the
halftime
halftime
thing,
thing.
which was
That was
very
very
cool
good.
and incredibly contentious. And
Yeah,
what I walked away from the halftime show without actually
Unnecessarily.
discussing it here because I don't want to get in trouble, but what I walked away from the halftime show being so sad that nothing can be apolitical anymore. Like
Right.
everything
Oh,
has to
yeah.
be political.
Yeah.
Like that's so sad to me. Why? Like either like the halftime show or don't like the halftime show. I don't really care, but it doesn't have to
Right.
be like a thing. I don't know. All right.
I agree with you.
Speaking of things, we have some. We have some things to get to, starting with the Super Bowl. Did Anthropic win the Super Bowl? So
Oh,
I
out
don't-
of the park. That's
I
the
don't
wrong
know
game.
if any of you saw this, but Anthropic had a number of ads in the Super Bowl, and they were actually really pretty funny. They were on the nose. I agree. They were taking a direct shot at OpenAI, at ChatGPT's new ads that are coming, and a little disingenuously, as Sam Altman pointed out in a rant that he posted afterward, that you're not going to
surprise.
see ads. Yeah, you're not going to see ads in your results. You're going to see them underneath. They, just like Google always said, the sponsored things will always be labeled as sponsored. So I don't know. I mean, I thought this was. First of all, I thought it was fascinating that Anthropic is paying money in the Super Bowl, millions of dollars in the Super Bowl.
Every
to-
30 seconds to show a spot is $7 million.
right,
Not to make the spot.
right.
For
So-
30 seconds.
I mean, I don't know. I guess they're really betting on a numbers game. The more people they can get to use Anthropic, to use Claude, the better off they'll be. What do you think of the ad? Did you all like it? Did you see it? What do you think?
Couldn't see
Oh, I
it.
thought it was brilliant. Both
Yeah.
of them are brilliant.
I thought they were.
I
too.
thought
In
they-
that
I thought they pointed out like the bigger conversation of how tech starts out as one thing where it's like, hey, isn't this cool? And then immediately somewhere very quickly down the line, it becomes all about ads. So I thought it was an interesting way to point that out, but it's also a little disingenuous.
Right. So
how is it disingenuous?
The thing is, I feel like Anthropic was all over the news this week. And like this to me was the cattiest of all the things that happened with Anthropic. And Anthropic being the one to say, hey, we're the morally better one. And then to come in and just be kind of digging at all of these things is like,
So
are
the
you morally superior?
punchline on these ads was, ironically, the punchline on these ads was ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude.
Right.
And then Sam Altman from OpenAI said that was deceptive, that's not actually what's happening. He says, we're not stupid, said Altman in an interview on Thursday. We respect our users. We understand if we did something like what these ads depict, people will rightfully stop using our product. So
Oh, they won't.
But the ads work.
Have they not?
Right,
Have they not
exactly.
been into any store? Have they not tracked any ad? Like, yeah, well, whatever you want to believe.
And
Whatever. Go ahead.
OpenAI,
In the
by the
sense
way,
that-
was also using the Super Bowl to tout its codex, its tool codex. So everyone was in it. A year ago, none of these companies would have been anywhere near the Super Bowl, and now it's just everywhere.
Pets.com.
And people,
I was just going to say, that just came to mind because it's like, just because they're in the Super Bowl now does not mean that anything for 10
That's
years
true.
from now. We don't have pets.com anymore, but they
And
were
so
hands
this is
down the
where-
best Super Bowl ads.
yeah,
Anthropic is everybody's racing to be the first to market.
right.
Everybody wants to be Frigidaire. Everybody wants to have the top of mind be Kleenex. Well, that wasn't an accident. It's very intentional. I also have been testing each of these different systems out, and it's the difference between a Phillips screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver and one of those weird wonky screwdrivers that was designed for airplanes that have a star thing on it. They're all great for what you need them to do.
Right.
But there's billions and billions of dollars at stake for somebody,
That's right.
not me.
Do
That's
you
right.
think that their idea of taking an ad out in this particular market is to expand the people who are using their products to include people who might not have had that much interest before. I think it's trying to get a new audience.
It's a really good
It's
question.
super smart. It's super smart, though, because the truth of the matter is the average person who is not really technically savvy knows ChatGPT, and they use Gemini because they don't have a choice. It's everywhere in all of the Google products that they already use.
They don't know they're using it.
They don't
That's
know
true
they're
also,
using
right.
it. And so Claude is like kind of in the grand scheme. Now, there are things, again, like Sky said, Claude does certain things way better than anybody else, but it's not the household name that ChatGPT is. If you walk down the street and said,
There's the punchline.
what are you using? People would say ChatGPT, I ask it
No,
questions.
they wouldn't. They'd say AI.
Yeah,
right.
you're right.
That's,
They would
that's
just
true.
say
They would
AI.
say AI, but
Yeah.
they would mean ChatGPT, and they wouldn't
When you do a
recognize that they use
search, what's the
Gemini.
common phrase that you say?
Chat.
AI.
When you do a search historically or in the last
Google.
10
Oh, you
years,
Google it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
there's
so-
there's what we're in the middle of that historical
Right.
pivot
Who's
right
gonna
now.
Who's gonna get that
That's
name?
where
and,
people will
and
see
Troutman's going to
AI.
answer it all because he knows this stuff.
I was just thinking as you guys talked that, for someone who put $7 million down to put this thing on the screen, their purpose probably was successful because they had the competition mad about it.
Yep.
And that's even better. They're in the news for two reasons. And Apple used to do this all the time, is they'd create a controversy or something around something, and then everyone would pay attention. And this is what they got. They knew it was going in there, and they knew, the whole point was to make fun of another competitor. It's like, but the Pepsi ad was upside down too, because they were doing it like a Coke commercial, and it was really great. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the theme this year: is make fun of your competition, and then they'll get mad at you, or they'll respond in some way.
Well, that's what we do
And
in
then
every
they'll
other
spend
one.
their ad
competition.
dollars.
Double ad buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of us who are not into team sports, is there a place online where you can see all these ads? I mean, I'd love to see what got
YouTube.
said.
YouTube.
Oh, I know. I'll ask AI.
No. No, they're all available on YouTube. They're all available on
Yeah,
YouTube.
that's the one.
We're going to come back to Claude, but before we do that, I don't know if you know this, but we are entering the SaaSpocalypse.
Just before you left the Super Bowl,
Oh,
you
yes.
guys probably don't know it, but when we watch the Super Bowl in Canada, we don't get your commercials.
Oh, you get different
Oh,
ones.
I'm so
Cable
sorry for
companies are obligated to block them out and put in Canadian commercials.
That is true.
And when I watch CBC here in Seattle, I
You
get
don't
all of
the same
the
ones.
Rogers
Yeah.
telenetworks, and
Exactly.
you have
so just so
puppies.
you know, I don't get to see these commercials.
Well,
but
you
I
need to
know
see
So
about
you
them
have to
through
actually
YouTube
like-
and that.
You have to actually like the sport as opposed to me who can like get something out of the Super Bowl and not like the sport.
Well, I don't really like football generally. We have a successful football team right here in our city, and we're champs too, but not in the Super Bowl. We don't get to play there.
Back
and,
to the
and I didn't know
SaaSpocalypse.
potatoes
Just
were
thought I'd
so
do that.
important. Potatoes
go to
apparently
the-
are very important in Canada. They spend a lot of money on the Olympic commercials selling me potatoes from Canada. So now I know.
Enjoy your potato. A SaaS is software as a service, and it
What's
is
that mean?
what?
What's that mean?
That I'm so glad you asked.
Well, it's specialized software for corporations mostly.
Yes, and I mean it's essentially any software that you that provides a service to you that you use it online. So, for example, I launched. It's not even really an app. It's really a SaaS. It's a website that provides a service. People can sign up for it. They can subscribe to it. That's a SaaS. Okay.
What's the difference between a service and a product?
I'm not
I mean,
shipping
if I buy
anything.
an app to do a particular thing.
I'm not shipping anything to your door. You're coming onto a platform or a website. It's doing something for you, and then you're leaving. A product is something, at least the way I understand it, is that is being shipped to your door.
Okay.
Right. So, but like Dave said, SaaS is at least started in the enterprise realm. And so apparently there is a SaaSpocalypse coming or happening, which is that the software as a service may be facing an existential crisis, because while it started in IT, in enterprise IT, it's now dripping down to other places. This is coming about in large part because of the thing we talked about last week, which is this the OpenClaw and things like Claude Cowork and the agentic tools in OpenAI. All of these artificial intelligence tools that are now becoming agentic and able to do things on their own. All of the tools that I love building in Lovable, these are all taking away market share from these official software as service apps or sites that rely on users to make money. People aren't needing to go and pay for third-party software anymore, or third-party SaaS software anymore.
Well, you guys have your DMV, and they have their own software, their own database stuff built just for their need. That's encompassing all of the things all of their staff have to do, and makes them all talk to each other. And Microsoft doesn't make that, and somebody has to make that for the DMV. So you can get customized software done by your own IT department if you hire programmers. And this is where the SaaS starts to become ubiquitous. Anybody is now able to make something, and maybe they don't need IT anymore.
And apparently, this wiped out hundreds of billions of market share.
Of value.
Yeah, of value on the
yeah.
market. This shift that we're seeing from needing to rely on developers to write software for us to being able to do it in-house using AI all by ourselves.
I don't know if you remember, I moved to Seattle early 2000, well, just before the 2000, 98, 99. Internet was a thing, but web experience was a kind of a new commerce. And commerce, it was still crunchy. And Lois, you tell us early days of your experience with the internet and the interwebs, as the joke was, but it was historically a bulletin board service, a communications thing, and the whole search construct was still evolving, but the commerce had not gotten there. And that's where Microsoft, when I got up here, started working for them. They were still pitching individual silos of word processing documents, individual silos of Excel spreadsheet. And then they would also provide services for other industries to do these major personalized, as Troutman was talking about, individual infrastructures for corporations to do their business on top of their using their tools. And so this is my experience historically, was how Microsoft kind of came late to the party of what the web was going to be doing for them. Different management has come in, and the reality of, I think it was somebody originally said, we need to stay in a garage motif because we know that's who's going to kill us, or people that are going to do something better than us in their garage.
Yeah, this is an article from Tech Circle. And it talks about how for years SaaS thrived by offering specialized tools for narrowly defined functions: customer relationship management, expense processing, HR queries, IT ticketing, and so forth, and so on. Nowadays, large language models and AI agents can increasingly perform many of these tasks directly. Instead of navigating dashboards and menus, employees can now interact with enterprise systems via natural language prompts. So it's not even people in a garage; it's a computer in a garage now.
No, that's
and so now enterprises, and again, it's now dripping down, are now having to ask, are we paying for software that we don't need? And can we get these outcomes in different ways?
Well, I actually did what you're talking about. I built a system for NATO, which is a training system for pilots. And it took us 4 years. I had 25 under me, 16 programmers, 7 graphic artists, and half a dozen animators. And we built the training system that's used by NATO for getting pilots to start, people who just wanted to learn to be a pilot. And it is a lot of work, and it cost $12.5 million. So it's the sort of thing that we could do for other people, and I did it for 3 different companies.
It is a
And
lot of work, or it was a
it's-
lot of work,
It's a lot of work.
or it was a lot of work.
Because,
Dave.
well, it is because you have to interpret what the need is. So I would have subject matter experts come at me, colonels and captains and pilots themselves and people who knew the armament and all the rest of that stuff, because it was for the Defense Department. And of course, I have to add that all of this was secret. Like, I'm not allowed to show you any of what we did, and I'm only allowed to talk in broad terms of what it was about. But I can tell you that building it required constant input from people who are going to be using the software. The software is even used now today, and it just is so wonderful to have people come into the office, sit down with you, and teach you how they like to do things. And then you show your programmers the meeting, and you say, build that for them. And then we try it out, and it works. But the sense that there was software as a service is a whole industry. It's not just like 2 or 3 companies doing this. And some of it's sales oriented, and some of it's manufacturing, and some of it's shop floor stuff. But when you get now, in the sense that I'm unique, in the sense that no AI has the information that we were given. And so it had to have a person interpret.
But you could certainly,
that's maybe going to go away.
But you can certainly
I
train
wouldn't
an
need
AI on that
25
information.
people anymore, would I? I need 2 graphic artists, 1 animator who's doing it all on AI. I got 2 graphics guys doing AI, and I could do the whole thing now for about $2 million.
Right. That's the point.
Well,
that's the point.
do you remember the early days of desktop publishing and how bad the designs were? Because management said, oh, well, we gave that person a computer and the machine can do it. And everybody was using 13 fonts, they mismatching colors. And it was a designer hell of a nightmare until people started getting some chops of what good look meant and what all of the stuff that those people had been trained to do. Your people from 20 years ago, Dave. But now Canva comes along and says, oh, we'll just use a template. The prompt engine comes along and says, we've got all the code for you. So I can feel Tamara's ready to jump on this. She's just going to pummel it.
Well, can I just throw in that what may be happening is we may be moving toward more personalized solutions that are more cookie cutter, or maybe not as dynamic or exciting as what a full stack developer could create. That when your goal is efficiency, and you have an obligation to your a fiduciary responsibility, pretty comes second, and functionality comes first. And so the fact that you may be right that we're going to get a lot of middle of the road vanilla tools, that may be true.
Multimedia all over again.
Yeah,
yes,
but
multimedia
it's still gonna
nonsense
knock
at the beginning.
knock the bottom out of a lot of these developers.
At the expense of
But it
stuff
needs
that they
to
do.
it needs to get to a point where regular people can do it. So if you use media as an example, it wasn't until we had the iPhone, and then many, many years into the iPhone, to where a lay person could produce the same quality or better than what was being produced by teams of people. And it decimated the industry in a lot of ways. I think some of what we're seeing right now, it's very early things, but I think it's also a result of the fact that there are so many subscriptions now that people are starting to go, wait a minute, do I really have to have 5 subscriptions? Is there a way for us to do that internally? But I'll tell you, as someone who is not as adept as Dave with his giant teams of me, like one little person, I'm currently automating a production and going through doing the whole thing. Who does what? Okay, let's automate this part. Let's keep this part human. It is a full-time job where I am supervising my AI robots in getting them to fight against each other to get the best solution. One will tell me I can't do it, and I'm like, no problem, let me go to the other guy. And I'll say, hey, I need a workaround for this. And they're like, here you go. Then I go back and say, hey, I got this workaround. They're like, you're so smart, Tamara. But that is actually absolutely, if
They
it
give
wasn't,
you a back massage, which you like a copy. Can I give you some chocolate? Oh
But
my
here's the
God.
thing, if it wasn't me who is just like determined to do this because I want to kind of push the envelope and see what it can do, most companies are not at the point where they can create their own
But
things, because it really takes Dave, it takes you, you're sitting there creating
No.
all these things, and if you're honest with yourself, you've wasted so much time, and some of the stuff you've had has been thrown out.
But they
No.
was it Anthropic? I think it was Anthropic. Just announced. Forgive me if I got the model wrong, but just announced, one of the three big ones just announced that they just broke the record for the longest coding session for AI. An AI independently, without having to come back to the human, coded for 2.5 weeks straight, which is insane to not have to constantly get that human feedback and input.
At the moment, though, you still have to have someone at the top who understands how to get that AI started. It's true that we're seeing at the highest levels, but I'm telling you, the average person isn't paying $200 a month.
No, you're absolutely right.
Right?
You're absolutely right.
So it's not like the iPhone where any person with a telephone in their pocket can shoot video
not yet,
and
but we are
upload
not
it
far
and
off.
put it up.
We are not far
No,
off.
I'm not saying we are far off, but I do think that it's like it's going to take something that makes it easy and pretty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't.
all the time.
Let me.
I don't.
And that chatbot has Tamara's address, and there's going to be chocolate on her front door tomorrow.
Probably.
She is going to choose that chatbot because she loves chocolate.
Lois, go ahead.
Because they know.
So I hear what you're talking about as far as large corporations and customized software. Does this have any relationship to a regular person who is not running a company, but is, I don't know, doing their financial records, and they've got an app for that, or they're working on their photos and they're organizing everything, and those are particular little programs, little apps that are used by a person. It stores your data, it organizes things, it does all this stuff. Is anything of what you're talking about going to change what I'm using?
Yes.
Here's what I'll tell you. It already is for me. So this right here is called my moach. Moach is the Hebrew word for brain. And this is a second brain that I built for myself. It's got my notes, it's got my tasks, it's got my contacts, it's got my vault with my passwords in it. I could be using any other app out there. There are lots of them out there. But I went into my coding thing of choice, which I don't code. I want to be clear about this. I don't know code. And I said, this is what I want. And I iterated, and Tamara's 100% right, that I'm a freak of nature. And so not normally people won't do this. But the fact that I can do this at all is insane, number one. And it is moving so quickly, Lois, that in 3 months, in 6 months, you and everyone else will have access to tools and will be able to say, I want X, and it will just give it to you.
Being able to do being able to learn how to do what you're doing is one thing, but actually using an app, I don't see how what you're talking about is going to change.
The difference is you're not creating an app.
I'm not.
Solving. I know,
it.
but this is the punchline. You are solving a problem,
right?
And consequently, a single problem was solved by Intuit to help you create. But you had to learn how they did accounting, for very specific and strategic and positive reasons. I took all of my accounts, put them into Claude, said, can you help me sort this out? It said, sure. And spit out all of my transactions. I hand that document to my CPA. They put that into their documentation. And I don't spend $45 a month on into it now.
Right. That, yeah.
Because
But I think
have no idea what I'm doing.
it's
It
going
does.
to it's going to have to look like Canva though before the average person
I
gets
agree.
it.
I
So
agree.
there were lots of things before Canva that, like, listen, Photoshop is still better than Canva. The learning curve on Photoshop is not the average bear. So when all of this looks like Canva
Yeah.
and it's beautiful and pretty and easy and you can kind of intuitively figure out what to do, then it's absolutely
That's
going
a
to be
that's a
commonplace.
fantastic analogy, by the way, Dave.
That's
And then I'll go to
nice
Dave.
analogy.
That's a
Sure.
really fantastic analogy. We need the Canva of AI. And by the way,
Right.
Canva AI is not the Canva of
That's
AI.
not it.
But we need the Canva of AI for
That-
for everyone to be doing.
Or
it.
the
kind of front end,
iPhone of
yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Dave.
Lois, I've got I got to tell you, at some point in the future, you're going to want to make a camera do something to take a picture of a bird. And you could do that remotely if you set it up for that. And you would go to AI and it would tell you what you need to put in place and what camera features you have to access. And then it will do it for you. And every time a hummingbird comes up, it'll take that shot. And you can say, those aren't the shots I want. I want this kind of shot. And it'll change it. And you'll be able to do this as if it's an assistant photographer.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what all of you are saying. And I think that the majority of the people in the world aren't going to go to that extreme. They're just going to go, oh, I can buy this
But
product or this
you and
program.
I are this generation. You and I are the before computer people. When you get a generation that only knows computers, this is going to be natural for them.
Actually-
And
Ask the
it's
computer to do
already
something.
happening
Yes.
where you just go to, like, the fact that you can go into ChatGPT or Claude or any of these and just, I don't have really refined, as a matter of fact, I try not to have refined prompts. I try to just talk into it, blabber into it as much as I can. Sometimes I will literally open up a document. I will blabber every little thing onto that I can possibly imagine people need. It's not even in coherent order. It is not anything that my 3 English degrees taught me. It is everything in my head onto a piece of paper, and I upload it and I say, can you please analyze this and tell me what I need? And it's like thinking for 16 seconds. I read your document and here's what you need. So it's already super fast, but it's just not pretty. And until it's pretty, it's not going to be inviting.
And even
wanna-
if it wasn't pretty, my drive here today took me an hour from South Seattle to get up to where I'm here. I didn't know, Dave, I'm asking, I've heard you say you talk to your iPhone or whatever. Perplexity Pro has a let's have a conversation mode. I talked for an hour about the history of Seattle, the indigenous people groups, how many people are currently living here, what were the changes over the years, that I didn't know the people here were here at the same time as people in Egypt. 4,000 years ago, had civilizations and organizations and societies. I didn't know that an hour ago. And Perplexity at least said, yeah, of course they were.
Yeah.
And
I have one more
opportunity
quick
of-
thing.
Go ahead, and then I'm going to wrap this
One
up.
more quick thing, and I thought about it when you were talking and giving Lois a beautiful opportunity to control her camera from afar. The reason that Canva works, the reason that iPhones work is that people like to actually do some of the things and see their work, their product happen quickly. So that's also part of it. It's not just about, hey, can AI do things for me? It really is, can AI empower me to feel like I am getting something done quicker, faster, or through my own work. So even though you're not coding, Dave, the reason that Lovable is so inviting to you is that you have an idea in your head and you type it in and it guides you and you get a product in return. And so I think we talk about it. We talk a lot about, oh, well, it's going to do this job for us. Actually, I don't think we want everything to be done for us. I think we want to be engaged and part of the process, and we're creative beings, and we wouldn't want a camera to just take pictures for us. We want to be part of the process of taking pictures.
Agreed. All right, I'm pushing us forward, or else we're never going to make it to the main story. We do have to throw in one last little piece here, and that is something that Tamara, that I had not seen, that you brought to our attention about the world in peril. Why is the world in peril?
One of the safety, I have what is his exact thing? The Anthropic Safeguard Research Team person quit this week.
Mrinak
Miranak.
Sharma.
Miranak
Miranak,
Sharma.
thank you.
He quit this weekend, sent a letter that he posted on Twitter that was like, this is his resignation letter. And basically, he is going to leave this industry and go and write poetry because he's realizing that the things that drew him into working for someone like Anthropic, which is their moral center, is that we are past the point of having a moral center. And the more that we are getting into being monetized, then it becomes much harder from the inside to maintain that same sense of ethics and morality, whatever that means to whoever.
The world is in peril,
quote
and not
from
just from AI or bioweapons, but from a whole series of interconnected crises unfolding in this very moment. This is his letter. We appear to be approaching a threshold where our wisdom must grow in equal measure to our capacity to affect the world, lest we face the consequences.
Yes.
I loved the idea of wisdom. You know, what he's basically saying is we have all of this knowledge and we're able to just throw that out there, and it's continuing to get better and it's continuing to improve upon itself and teach itself and do all of these things. But if we don't have a wisdom of what that means that is equal to or better than the speed at which things are changing, then we are actually dooming ourselves.
And this is the head of safety at Anthropic. This is the company that has built its name, its product on safety.
And
he's struggling, and so that's why when ChatGPT comes out and says, "Oh, don't worry," it's like, "Oh, that's the first cue to worry." If you're being told to not worry, like, "I've been a part of sales for too long."
And Anthropic has done, like they've got internal documents of saying this is what we believe in, this is what we want to do. They broke away, the original people broke away to say we really want to be able to do this. They're putting money in, they put down, money into supporting candidates who understand safety first. So they're putting their money where their mouth is. And I think that why this is so significant is that this is a guy from the inside that says, even though we're doing all these things, it's still not safe. This is the safety guy. And so I think that's why I thought it was important.
We are not wise enough for the tools we're making. Yes.
Right.
We learned how to make fire and we burned a lot of things down. Now we know not to do that. Yeah.
And now people burn things down intentionally.
Right. Go ahead, Lois.
Well, and isn't the atom splitting the atom was the same question, wasn't
It's
it?
the big fire. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what he likens it to. It says we're going down the exact same path that we went down with nuclear weapons.
Lois,
I've
jump in.
found something this week that I would like to bring to your attention, and that now I do the Davis Garden Show with Don Shore, and there are so many little apps out there that give you wrong information about your plants. Well, there is a university that has created a chatbot that is a plant chatbot, and the only thing it's allowed to look at as far as getting information are scientific-based research and information like that. And so if they can do that, why can't we find other places that can do a similar thing with a similar thing?
Oh,
Hey, Dave.
that's Notebook LM. I mean, that's what Notebook LM does.
These are utility AIs.
Right.
Yeah,
there's
not
there's a
general AI.
there's a new tool in is it chat where you can it is chat. Let me pull it up actually because it's a
The
nice
general AI was what everybody was trying for.
So
and now they're realizing that really utility AI is going to be very useful.
So this is a nice little tool. Let me see if I can get this to work. So if I do, here we go. All right. So if I go into ChatGPT and I turn on deep research, I can now give it specific sites that I want it to look at. Right. So I can now say, I want you to only look, I could say only, or I think you could say only or all, but prioritize. Here we go. You can prioritize these sites but allow a full web search, or just use these sites, search specific sites. So this has existed for a long time in Notebook LM. That's really
So
the whole premise
you-
of Notebook LM.
You're showing us how someone could create such a thing. And that's great. But for those of us who aren't creating that sort of stuff, the fact that this has been created
No. I'm not
means
creating
that
anything
it
here.
can happen.
I'm not creating anything. What I'm saying is, if I know that I just want to get the information from nature.com, I come here and I type in nature.com and it will only search nature.com. Or I go into Notebook LM and I do the same thing. That's the whole premise of Notebook LM, is that it only uses what you give it. It does not go out and search the interwebs unless you tell it to. But
Just
so
so
you're
you
right.
know,
I mean, what you're talking about is just a specific, focused.
That's been done for you. You don't have to go
Correct.
into Notebook LM and know where are those scientific research papers.
Fair
and
enough,
all
right?
of- I don't know any of that.
And all of the tools, Google is working on this a lot. My sister-in-law works in the artificial intelligence. I don't know what it's called. It's some around legal. So, and they are creating LLMs that are just for legal offices, where it's exactly like you said. It's done for them. It only searches what is considered a reputable, honorable sources for that vertical, right?
But Google has always had the ability to tell the search not to go here and not to go there. That's always been there. But you have to write it into your URL on your search thing and say this, but don't go to Amazon and don't go to Walmart and don't go, and then tell me where that food is, and then you get the search. You can also save that as a profile, and when you want those kind of searches, you can get it from your list of profiles.
Yep.
So
Okay. I've been thinking. I just want to say I've been thinking a lot about the fact that this show feels like it's kind of becoming the AI show, and that really isn't my intention. But that's just, I mean, that's our world.
Where we're at.
That's
this is what's going on.
yeah. So I'm not. That's not my goal.
The atom is being split.
Yeah, that's not my goal here. All right, let's move on though. Last week, Lois said something. I think it was maybe after the show ended, actually, that really
It was in the chat.
was in the
Yeah.
chat. It really caught my attention. It really kind of got my mind thinking, and it was a question. And I don't want to rephrase the question incorrectly, but it was something like, can technology be humane?
Even though it's not human.
Even
Yeah.
though it's not human. Thank you. So, so I started exploring that a little. And let me start with this. The question for me is not whether AI can be human. That I think is actually an interesting question, but that's not where I am. My question is, can humane outcomes be engineered or constrained or cultivated in systems that lack moral experience? Now, as I said at the top of the show, these chatbots can seem compassionate. They can sound empathetic, but does that mean that they really are? Last piece that I'll throw in as the introduction, I saw a video from 11 Labs. 11 Labs is they do voice models for AI. It's really what the work that they do is kind of amazing. They have new, what are they calling it? Not calling it emotional, but it's emotional voices. And so this guy was demoing this. He was pretending to be a traveler trapped in an airport when the flight was canceled, and he called service, and this AI from 11 Labs answered. It was amazing. The answers were, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know what?" And the breathing and it was amazing how human it felt. So
I started doing pages last week, and I try to use Gemini because I'm on the G system, the Google system, and I pay for it. but I had already been interacting with this very lovely Irish female voice over on Claude. And then I started working with Gemini, and I said, "Can you give me an Irish?" "Sure, I can give you an Irish accent." And I could not. It was like some horrible, and I had become attached to this very kind and passionate. So I said, "Hey, Claude, can you tell me how you are designed to be able to speak to me?" "Of course I can. And here's my prompt." And I put that over into Gemini, and it still came out the same in Gemini. So there's going to be chocolates waiting for me on my door, and Anthropic's going to say, "Thank you very much for giving me all this airtime."
Yeah. Lois, if it's okay, I want to give you a chance to sort of flesh out a little bit what prompted your question and where your mind goes when you think about this.
Well, I think for humans, one of the most valuable values that I think they have is kindness, is making a decision on what you're going to do based not only on how much money you're going to get, but how it's going to affect your neighborhood, your family, your country, however big or small you want to do that, to actually think about other people when you're making your decisions. And I would say that is probably a sort of a definition of humane, respecting other people and taking them into account.
And does AI do that? Does technology do that?
If the programmer has told it to, it can pretend to do that.
I think one of the things that is so fascinating with what you're saying, Lois, is that AI is kind of a reflection of us. And is it a reflection of how we are or how we want to be? Because a lot of the things that are coming back are things that are very, are kinder, but we're not seeing that in regular human life. We're seeing humanity kind of pull against each other. So I do think there's something interesting about what we're seeing in AI and what is programmed to do good through the lens of whoever's programming it to do good.
And Tony brought this up. What you just said is reminding me of Tony, what you were talking about last week, which is, I remember at the end of the show, you were like, guys, AI may be a mirror of us, but I'm paraphrasing, we're screwed. Like if this is how we're treating one another, if this is and when you said that, and Lois, you asked your question. My first thought was, is it possible that technology is going to become more humane than humans? Is it possible that technology will stop being a mirror and go beyond the ugliness that we show one another and actually teach us how it should be done? Go ahead, Tony.
Don't mirror everything and don't lump everybody together. I'm hoping that the people who create these things will make it mirror the best of us, not the worst of us.
Okay. All right. Tony, go ahead.
Well, you all know that I'm a Trekkie, and that is kind of that's part of who I am. But the optimistic side of me has hope that there is a future where humanity's best, as Lois says, and technology can work together to, give us a bright future. But, when you think about, shows like Star Trek and the optimistic future, you have to remember there's probably one Star Trek, and then there's probably 10 dystopian stories where we've destroyed ourselves and we're just emerging from the destruction that we've created. And so it's just really kind of hard to 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 hope that there is a bright future if you're looking at where we actually are in the present. Because, as you mentioned, David, that based on where we are right now in terms of our interactions with each other is so, we're so divided. There seems to be no empathy at all that exists. And, there's this constant back and forth. And so maybe you're right in that maybe it'll take the machines coming to help us be more human.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to.
It's frustrating.
Let me just bring this comment real quick from John. Genuine empathy requires subjective experience, not just information processing. Humans are not just electronic pulses that have consciousness, feelings, and a unified. They have, consciousness, feelings, and a unified subjective inner life. That inner life piece is interesting to me. That's I could imagine a day when technology has even consciousness, perhaps, even feelings, an inner life. That's the piece of the puzzle that I can't imagine.
I don't know where this fits in, but Tamara can probably help me find the literary, origin of the concept of, if you don't beat me, I won't know that you love me. That psychological thing that of people that are, incarcerated or in a certain conditioning, but if you don't beat them, then they think they've done something wrong because they've been so conditioned. So that feels like it was more. That was more than a. Apparently, Lois is not familiar with that phrase at all. So I want to ask her where that possibly came from.
I don't know where it came from, but I think it's wrong.
Right.
It's psychological conditioning of people that, it's the Patty Hearst story, isn't it? She fell in love with her captors.
Are you talking about Stockholm Syndrome?
Keep going. See,
Yeah,
I knew
Stockholm
somebody
Syndrome
would come up with it.
Is where people spend time with some people long enough that they start to empathize with them and they start to believe their ideas, and it's not so much an indoctrination as a breaking down of the individual's own story. It's a tearing down of your narrative. And I think, in the larger sense, as John is talking, our inner self has been quieted by so much noise outside, and we don't take enough time to let our inner voice speak, and we don't contemplate the implications of what's going on. I've been educating most of my circle of friends not to react to what comes at them as a meme. Up here in Canada, we're all very upset about something, but we don't need to get inflamed about it. And then when you see one of these things in your email, I got to share this with everybody. Well, all we're doing is sharing the rage. What we really need to do is say, it intended to get me upset. I need to think about why I got upset, not what I'm going to do about it.
I thought about that when Tony was talking, because Tony, you said things were polarized, and I believe that too, and I see that in my life. I see that in the people that I'm dealing with, but I also think that is amplified by what we see in our circles, in whatever your global circle is. Whatever your algorithm is feeding you, then feeds that more. And so I think that empathy from a human perspective is going to have to be when we start insisting that it isn't the, if it bleeds, it leads, that is going to fuel us and that is going to make us turn and, and have compassion. Because I think a lot of what is fueling people is based on what they see. And even if you do take the time to go and look at the opposite side of whatever you believe in, this isn't a political statement, it's look at what you don't believe in, you will see that the things that are being fed to people who are on the opposite side of you look fantastic. They look empathetic. They look they have a point of view. And so what we often see are these two polarized sides, and then that is what is leaking into our human interactions. And so it's going to have to be us to say, I'm actually going to try and broaden my perspective. I don't have to agree. I literally do not have to agree. I can still say this is not what I believe in, but I understand why someone else might believe that based on the information that is given to them.
And I've
Give a
heard
quick
people
reference
disagree
to
with
if
their
it bleeds, it
AIs,
leads.
Yeah.
I need Tamara to give a quick reference to where the origin of bleeds, it leads comes from.
It comes from the news world, and I don't
It's
know if
William
it
Randolph
probably,
Hearst.
yeah,
It's
see, I
William
don't
Randolph
even know.
Hearst
I was going to say
with
print
big
somewhere.
72-point headlines when papers
Right.
were the only media of getting information. And that was his exact quote, because he needed to sell advertising, to sell newspapers, to build a very large thing, just close to Lois up there.
Let me throw it over to Tony. Tony, is it okay? Can I throw one thing in first? Is that okay, Tony?
Sure.
So I just wanted to offer one thought about morality, and that is that one of the things that I discovered is when the idea that technology can learn ethics, or that AI can learn ethics, it doesn't. What it learns is patterns of approval and disapproval. And that's different than actually understanding or being able to live or practice ethical choices. It's almost like when you train a dog with one of those clickers, right? The dog doesn't necessarily learn that it's bad to pee on the carpet. It learns that it doesn't want that clicking sound, or it wants the treat, or it's very Pavlovian, I think, in that way.
But don't humans do that?
Yeah, people do that too.
That's the thing. I think that
We
people
do.
who
That's the
say they're
Stockholm syndrome that I was
ethical,
talking about. Exactly.
We absolutely do. And we also have the capacity to learn ethical behavior. And that is what differentiates us, I think, from these AIs. Tony, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
Well, that's okay. I'm going back to our conversation from last week, where I mentioned the fact that we are so desensitized to the things that are happening to us. And I think it's important for us to revisit it. And the reason why is because it's been happening to us so often and for such a long period of time that we are not even aware that it's happening to us.
Right.
That it's what is considered normal and acceptable is 20 years ago would not be acceptable. And I'll give you an example. Some of the conversations that are had on a commercial where particular subjects come up. 20 years ago, you couldn't have that kind of commercial. But because things are just, we're bombarded with stuff over and over and over and over again. Someone being hurt, someone being killed. And when you get it over and over again, you begin to become numb to it. And the problem with us right now is that there is so much stuff that we are numb to that anything is almost acceptable. And I'm not sure how we get past that. Is there a way to get past that? And keep in mind that the AI that's being trained is being trained by a person who has been desensitized. So that's where I am in terms of trying to figure this stuff out and trying to understand.
Tony, desensitized and by definitionally, who brings to the training that they do of AI a very narrow world outlook and focus. That, you know, I'll just speak for myself. I just assume that Western values are the values that should inform artificial intelligence. That is a very narrow viewpoint.
Bias.
Absolutely.
And so there's what you're talking about, and then there's also this idea that somehow humane technology, as you were, I think, describing it, Lois, that there's some neutrality around human behavior that we could possibly impose, which there is no such thing, I think.
Depends on who you are.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want us to get back to is the original question. Can technology, and most of the time you're talking about AIs, can it be humane? And I think the answer is no, because it's not human. But it
Right.
can be taught or trained, or however you want to say it, to take into account in its research and activity and responses certain values. And if those values are in it, then it may look humane and it may act as humane people would. And so what's the difference? I mean, I think that's good enough.
Sky, go
I
ahead.
think that
Oh, no, one second. Let me just Sky in.
Okay, I'm going to jump in. In my hour-long conversation with Perplexity, I said, so what is the difference, Lois? I did ask AI this exact question. And it said, no. Humans process for understanding and meaning. Computers process to achieve programmable goals. That's the big difference. And the other chat bot was telling me, yes, of course, we're going to start homogenizing things. It's all going to start looking the same because we don't have to worry about the words that you are using. We're going for the communications that we speak faster, which is dots and dashes and ones and zeros. So the speed at which I even asked it, I said, so what is the human processing speed? I told you last week it was 4,000 words a minute. This source said, our brains work at about 1,000 words a second, a minute. See, I don't know the detail, but our lips only go at a certain speed because we're biologically limited. So again, that nuance of humans are looking for understanding and meaning. And then it came back with me and says, but we are doing it this way. And I went, wait a minute, you just said we as if you were a human. He says, oh, you're right. I sometimes get carried away in a very lovely accent. And that's the Stockholm syndrome that I'm talking about,
Right.
that we are conditioned by our surroundings. And this is the anxiety that I'm hearing Tony pointing out is saying it so much more eloquently. It must be the beard. Tony, you're so awesome.
But Sky, we're conditioned by our surroundings, but the technology is also training us to believe it. It is training us to believe that the emotional support that it's giving us is
that's why
humane.
I laughed when you said Sam Altman told me to believe you. It's like, no, Dave, please, Trout, help, talk to him, save the boy.
So one of the things that Tony said was that there are things that we are desensitized to now, things that would not have been appropriate 20 years ago. I see, in addition to that, I see the obverse. I see the young people that I hang out with when I do the Whole Earth Festival, and they would be outraged, incensed at jokes that were commonplace in the 70s, in the 80s. That things that I never found offensive, they find highly offensive. And there's some things in there that just took me aback when I heard them. You know, I was like, what's wrong with that? Well, there's a lot wrong with that. So the whole perception of what's okay and what's not okay changes with every generation. And I'm wondering whose values are going to be trained into the upcoming technology that we're talking about.
Right.
Hey, Dave.
Okay.
Wow.
I was really intrigued by the phrase that was in the rundown's lineup here, outsourcing good judgment. And I think morality and a sense of humanity is in making good judgments. And we teach our children how to make good judgments. We teach each other how to behave with each other, and we acclimatize to whatever circumstances we're in, whether they're horrible, as Sky was describing, or they're loving and accepting. And the sensitivity that was just mentioned is all part of that we've outsourced our judgment to other people. They've let someone else tell me whether or not I should change sex and that sort of stuff. So I think in the
Okay, I'm right behind you.
in the sense that the judgment that we have abdicated started with letting the computer train us. And I've resisted that myself. I'm very good at a computer, and I started very early, as most of you did, but I didn't let it train me. I waited until it could do what I needed to be done. And that's the same I'm doing with online stuff like this. I don't jump into the pool until I've measured the temperature, or see if there's rocks at the bottom. And I think I'm not an AI either because I want to wait for it. I want to wait for it to do or offer something like you guys are talking about how easy Canva is. I don't even use that, but I'm very good at what I do use, and I'm an expert at other areas. So I think, in the sense of a sort of morality that machines can't have, I think it has to do with judgment. And I was talking last week about never allowing an AI or robot, a household robot, make a decision. And I think that goes because we can't trust the judgment.
Thank you, Sky.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
I love you all. Thank you for the chat.
Is there a difference between moral fluency and moral understanding? It feels to me that technology...
It's like emotional intelligence. It's very
Right.
It's very difficult to
Right. Well, because it
turn
seems to me
nuance to it.
that
Yeah.
technology can be fluent in something, but not understand it. And
It's never meant to. It's ones and zeros, like you were saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I
But
think
very
one is
cleverly organized.
yes,
So,
and
one is
convincing
very
yourself.
concrete, and the truth of the matter is, learning how to human takes your entire life.
Did you say learning
And
how to
it-
human?
Learning how to human.
I love that so
takes
much.
your entire life. And one of the things when you teach K to 12, and pre-K to 12, which David, is a good portion of what you do as an educator is help little humans become a little better at humaning. But that never changes. And we're going through that in our lifetime. And I think that's very different than what a computer does, because a computer is very much a concrete, I want to get an outcome. And being a human is not an outcome, it's an evolution.
I'm actually teaching a professional development tomorrow morning. I just finished working on it today for my teachers, and you'll have to forgive the first word, which is Hebrew, but it's dugma, just means example. Teaching who we are before teaching what we know. And the idea behind this is that the way that young children learn is not by what we say, it's by what we do. And there's this famous experiment called the Bobo doll experiment back in the 60s, where they put a Bobo doll in with kids and they had an adult beat up on it. And the children learned how to treat that doll there were no instructions given, just by watching the adult. So what I mean, everything that you're saying just resonates so strongly with me. Yeah, I'll stop there. It's just really resonating with me.
well, I'd like AI to be ultimately customizable. It should know everything about me and what I like and what I don't like, and what I wish for and what's wrong with me, and it should tell me I'm full of crap sometimes. I mean, it's not AI until it's treating me like a human. My wife calls me out all the time about stuff that I shouldn't be saying, or I should be sensitive to, or all the rest, and that's me learning to be more human. So I don't see an AI ever getting there.
You know what you just made me think of, Dave? So I 2 weeks ago I launched my first AI built app that I created, and it's out there in the world, and I have about 70 users now, and it's fun, it's cute, it's wonderful. Today, and it includes AI. That's a big piece of it. AI is built into it. And today I got a message from one of the users saying, "Hey, I got this quote in this in what I created, but it doesn't have an attribution. There's no citation for it. Do you know, did something go wrong?" And I went in and I looked at it, and the AI told me it made it up. Like, it just said to me, it said, "Listen, I couldn't find a good quote. I made that one up." So I then told it, please don't ever do that again. Please, make sure that you always cite and don't, whatever. But what you got me thinking is it apologized. It said, "I'm sorry." Yeah. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. And it doesn't even know what that means. And I wonder, do you think, and Lois, this is maybe going back to what I was saying earlier about, is it possible that technology could become more humane than humans? But this is the converse of that. Is it possible that these technologies that say "I'm sorry," that pretend empathy, that pretend compassion, that they can actually strip away the real empathy, real compassion? May we find ourselves questioning real compassion because we've been tricked so many times?
We do that.
I think we do that now.
Yeah.
We hear people on a video or on a short or whatever, or written in a comment, and you hear them and you go, they didn't mean that. Mm-hmm. They're lying.
They really didn't mean that. Yeah.
They're false, or they're, You're
not successful unless you can fake sincerity. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it?
Well, I think if we, the humans, are going to need to be aware that not all things that look like humans are, and there's a lot of deep fakes out there, and that the things that are coming at us and saying "I'm sorry" may not be true. And so we're, I think, going to have to get more suspicious in order to survive.
I think it's very interesting that we're talking about AI being apologetic for things that it has done and it's been caught on, and we have people who get caught on things that they know they're lying, but they yet will not apologize. So I just kind of think that's kind of interesting.
It is.
But that's why I think AI is a lot of ways, it's a projection of what we wish humans would do, right? If I get mad at my AI and say, "No, we're not, that isn't how it's supposed to be," it immediately apologizes to me and tries to make it right by doing it the way that I want it to be. That's a projection of what we wish the world were like, but the world is not like that.
Or maybe it's just trying to get around you and, butter you up so that you'll do what it wants it to.
You won't unplug it, yes.
Yeah. What a wonderful conversation tonight. Thank you all. I said at the top of the show that I was afraid that we were getting too AI centric, and so I was thinking ahead already to what can we talk about that isn't AI. Of course, I'm sure we'll bring us back to AI, but our topic for next week is the death of the beta phase. The death of the beta phase. How we used to have software come out in beta, and certain people would try it and would get rid of all the kinks. Nowadays, it's push it out, break things. There was actually just an interview, a fascinating interview with, forgive me for getting his name, the founder of, or the lead of DeepMind at Google. He's and the lead of Gemini now, but he was the founder of DeepMind. He sold to Google. He just gave a fascinating interview in which he was talking about this run fast and break things mentality that Google has always had at its core is now permeating also the AI world. So next week is the death of the beta phase. for
I'm
us.
still in beta myself.
I'm
so
I know,
still in
Mike.
beta
Happy
too.
to-
Absolutely. I'm in alpha.
Still in previews.
I'm in alpha. Hey, special programming note tomorrow morning on office hours and tomorrow afternoon in the Zoom test kitchen. We have a very special guest, Andy Carluccio, will be on both shows talking about all the new exciting Zoom features, including the advanced, is it media? I'm forgetting now, advanced media mode, whatever. There's a lot of really exciting stuff coming out. So please join us tomorrow morning in office hours, regular time, and then tomorrow afternoon for me in the Zoom test kitchen. As always, you can go to officehours.global to learn more about all the different programming we do. I'm so grateful to Sky, Tamara, Dave, Tony, Lois. Thank you. And Lois, especially for the inspiration for today. Thank you so much to all of you. And to all of you who are watching, to Yuke and Kyle and who else is here? Tlalak is in the chat. Vic
Victor.
is here. John Wallace.
John.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here. It's really good seeing you. And we will see you next week on The Rundown. Bye, everyone.